Listen carefully, because what you're about to hear isn't meant for everyone. It's not for the distracted. It's not for the comfortable. It's for the one who has always felt different. There's a reason you found this message. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but because something deep inside you is waking up, and it refuses to be ignored any longer. You've tried to explain it. That feeling that you don't belong, that you see through things others accept without question. But every time you spoke, the world looked at you like you were the problem. What if I told you you were never the problem? What if the truth is you were chosen to see what others can't? And what if this message is the moment everything begins to change? There was a time when you tried to fit in. You lowered your voice. You dimmed your light. You convinced yourself that being accepted was more important than being real. But it never worked. Because no matter how hard you tried, something inside you kept pushing back. A quiet voice whispering, "This isn't who you are." That voice wasn't confusion. It was clarity trying to break through the noise. Being chosen doesn't mean life becomes easy. In fact, it means the opposite. You're tested more. You're misunderstood more. You're isolated more. Because pressure reveals truth. And you were never meant to stay asleep. Think about your journey. The betrayals that came out of nowhere. The people who walked away when you needed them most. The moments that forced you to stand alone. Those weren't random. They were part of your awakening. Because being chosen means being stripped of illusions. You had to see who people really are. You had to feel the pain of false connections. You had to learn the hard way, who deserves your energy and who doesn't. And that hurt you. Deeply. But it also changed you. You became more aware. More observant. More connected to something deeper than the surface. And suddenly, you couldn't go back. The conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. The environments that once felt normal now feel draining. The life you used to live no longer fits. That's not loss. That's transformation. But here's the part no one tells you. When you start to awaken, the world doesn't celebrate you. It resists you. Because your awareness exposes what others are trying to ignore. Your presence challenges people without you saying a word. Your energy makes others uncomfortable because it reflects what they haven't faced within themselves. So they label you. They misunderstand you. They distance themselves from you. Not because you're wrong, but because you're real. And real is rare. You've probably felt it. That sense that you're meant for something more. Something bigger than just existing, just surviving, just following the crowd. But at the same time, you've doubted it. You've questioned yourself. Wondered if maybe you're overthinking. Maybe you're imagining things. But deep down you know. Because that feeling never leaves. It follows you in silence. It speaks to you in moments of stillness. It reminds you, you are not here by accident. You were placed here with purpose. And that purpose doesn't always come with clarity right away. Sometimes it comes with confusion, with struggle, with moments where you feel completely lost. But even in those moments, you're being guided. Every challenge you've faced has been shaping you, building your awareness, strengthening your mind, refining your character. You're not falling apart. You're being rebuilt, stronger, wiser, more aligned with who you truly are. And the reason it feels so intense is because you're no longer asleep. You see things now. You feel things now. You understand things now that you didn't before. And once you see, you can't unsee. That's the weight of awakening. But it's also your power. Because while others are moving blindly, you're becoming aware of your direction. While others are distracted, you're becoming focused. While others are chasing validation, you're discovering your value. And that changes everything. This is the moment where you have a choice. You can go back to comfort, back to silence, back to pretending you don't feel what you feel. Or you can step fully into who you're becoming, even if it means walking alone for a while, even if it means being misunderstood, even if it means letting go of everything that no longer aligns with your truth. Because growth requires separation, and elevation requires courage. You weren't chosen to blend in. You were chosen to rise, to see clearly, to think deeply, to live intentionally. And yes, it's difficult, but it's also rare. Not everyone is willing to wake up. Not everyone is strong enough to face the truth. Not everyone is ready to walk this path. But you are. That's why you're here. That's why this message found you. So don't ignore it. Don't silence that voice inside you anymore. Trust what you feel. Embrace what you're becoming. And stop apologizing for being different. Because your difference is your purpose. And your awareness is your power. If this message spoke to you, don't just scroll away. Take a moment. Like this video. Share your thoughts in the comments, because your voice matters more than you think. And if you're ready to continue this journey, subscribe to Return to Awakening. Because this isn't the end of your awakening. It's only the beginning. And the truth is, the deeper you go into this journey, the more you begin to notice something unsettling. You start to realize that most people aren't actually living. They're repeating patterns, repeating thoughts that were never their own, repeating lives they never questioned. And once you see it, it becomes impossible to ignore. You sit in a room full of people, yet you feel completely alone. Not because you're disconnected, but because you're aware. Aware of the masks, aware of the silence behind the noise, aware of how much of this world is built on illusion. And that awareness, it can feel heavy. There are nights where your mind won't slow down. Moments where you question everything. Where you wish, just for a second, that you could go back to not knowing. But you can't. Because once your soul wakes up, it refuses to go back to sleep. And that's where your real transformation begins. You start letting go of things that once defined you. Old habits, old beliefs, even old versions of yourself. At first it feels like loss. Like pieces of your life are falling away faster than you can replace them. Like you're standing in the middle of something collapsing, with no clear direction forward. But what feels like destruction is actually alignment. Because everything that's leaving your life right now was never meant to go where you're going. And that includes people. This is one of the hardest parts to accept. Realizing that not everyone is meant to grow with you. Not everyone is meant to understand you. And not everyone is meant to stay. You'll outgrow conversations. You'll outgrow environments. You'll outgrow versions of yourself that once felt permanent. And that can feel isolating. But isolation isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's in those quiet moments, away from the noise, that you begin to hear your true self clearly. Not the version shaped by expectations. Not the version created to please others. But the real you. And that voice, it's different. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It speaks calmly, with certainty, with truth, guiding you step by step, even when you don't fully understand where you're going. This is where trust becomes everything. Not trust in the world, But trust in yourself. Trust in what you feel. Trust in what you're sensing beneath the surface. Trust in the path that doesn't always make sense to others. Because you're not meant to walk a common path. You're meant to walk a real one. And real paths are rarely easy. There will be moments where you feel like giving up. Moments where the weight of everything becomes overwhelming. Moments where you wonder if it would just be easier to go back. But every time you think about going back, something inside you stops you. That's not hesitation. That's your soul reminding you you've come too far to return to who you used to be. You're evolving. And evolution requires discomfort. It requires breaking old patterns, facing uncomfortable truths, letting go of what feels familiar to step into what feels right. And the more you embrace this process, the more something powerful begins to happen. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing approval. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand you in the first place. And instead, you become grounded, confident in your silence, confident in your direction, confident in your growth. You begin to move differently. Not louder, not to prove anything, but with intention. And people notice. Even if they don't understand it, they feel it. Because there's something about someone who has faced themselves, who has walked through confusion, pain, and isolation, and still chose to rise. That kind of energy can't be faked. It can't be copied. It can only be earned. And you've been earning it through everything you've gone through. Every challenge, every setback, every moment where you felt like you were losing yourself. You weren't losing yourself. You were finding yourself underneath everything that wasn't truly you. And now you're starting to see it. Little by little. In the way you think. In the way you respond. In the way you no longer tolerate what once drained you. That's growth. Real growth. Not the kind that looks impressive on the outside, but the kind that changes everything on the inside. And once that shift happens, your life begins to move in a completely different direction. Not instantly, not all at once, but gradually, through choices, through awareness, through the quiet decisions you make every single day. You start choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, purpose over distraction. And that's when your path truly begins to unfold. And as your path begins to unfold, something even deeper starts to happen within you. You begin to detach, not in a cold or careless way, but in a way that frees you. You stop reacting to everything. You stop taking things personally. You stop allowing other people's chaos to become your burden. And for the first time, you feel a sense of control. Not over the world, but over yourself. And that changes everything. Because when you master your inner world, the outer world loses its power to shake you. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same effect. People who once drained you no longer have access to your energy. Thoughts that once controlled you begin to lose their grip. You start to realize your peace is something you protect, not something you negotiate. And that realization is powerful, because most people spend their lives chasing external validation. They depend on others to feel worthy. They look outside for something that can only be built within. But you're starting to build from the inside out. And that foundation cannot be easily shaken. There's a quiet strength forming within you now. It's not loud. It doesn't need attention. But it's there, in the way you walk away from what no longer serves you, in the way you stay silent when others expect a reaction, in the way you choose growth, even when it's uncomfortable. That's not weakness. That's discipline. That's awareness. That's power. And the more you step into this power, the more your reality begins to shift. You start attracting different people. People who see you. People who respect your energy. People who don't try to dim your light, but recognize it. But even then, you're careful. Because you've learned. You've learned that not everyone who comes into your life is meant to stay. You've learned that energy doesn't lie, even when words do. You've learned to trust what you feel more than what you hear. And that level of awareness protects you. It guides you. It keeps you aligned. But here's something even deeper. As you continue to grow, you may notice that your old fears begin to resurface. Doubt, overthinking, moments where your mind tries to pull you back into old patterns. That's not failure. That's resistance. Because every time you evolve, there's a part of you that tries to hold onto what's familiar, even if what's familiar was holding you back. So don't be surprised when those thoughts come. Don't be discouraged when it feels like you're taking a step back. Because you're not going backward. You're breaking through layers. And each layer reveals a stronger version of you underneath. This journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering who you've always been, beneath the conditioning, the expectations, and the limitations placed on you. And that process takes time. It takes patience. It takes courage. But most importantly, it takes honesty. Being honest with yourself about what you feel, about what you want, about what no longer aligns with your life. Because once you're honest, you can no longer pretend. And once you stop pretending, everything changes. Your decisions become clearer. Your direction becomes stronger. Your energy becomes focused. You no longer chase things that aren't meant for you. You no longer force connections that don't feel right. You no longer settle just to avoid being alone. Because you've realized something most people never do. Being alone in peace is far more powerful than being surrounded in confusion. And that understanding separates you. Not in a way that isolates you forever, but in a way that elevates you. You begin to see life differently. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop measuring your journey against others. Because you finally understand. Your path was never meant to look like anyone else. It was designed specifically for you. Every delay, every challenge, every unexpected turn, all of it has been shaping you for something greater. Even the moments you thought broke you were actually building you. Stronger, wiser, more aware than you've ever been before. And now, you're standing at a point where you can feel it. Something shifting, something aligning, something within you becoming undeniable. It's not loud, but it's real. A deep sense of knowing that you're not the same person you used to be. And you never will be again. And now, with that shift, you begin to notice the subtle signs all around you. The coincidences that no longer feel like coincidences. The opportunities that seem to appear at exactly the right time. The people who come into your life not by accident, but because the universe is aligning for you. It's almost as if life itself is responding to your awakening. But that awareness, it also brings responsibility. Because being chosen isn't just about experiencing growth for yourself. It's about carrying that awareness into every action you take, into every interaction, into every choice. You begin to see the ripple effects of your energy. How one word, one action, one decision can affect more than you realize. And that realization, it can feel overwhelming at times. Because suddenly, nothing is trivial anymore. Nothing is meaningless. Everything carries weight. Even silence. Even absence. Even the smallest intentions. That's the gravity of being awakened. It forces you to reconsider how you exist in the world, how you spend your energy, how you share yourself. And the more aware you become, the more selective you get, because you realize energy is finite, and yours is too valuable to give away carelessly. You begin to notice the difference between those who lift you and those who drain you, the difference between conversations that nourish your spirit and those that leave you exhausted, the difference between being surrounded by people who see your value and those who only dim your light to feel comfortable. And you stop settling. You stop bending to please. You stop playing roles that no longer serve you. And in that clarity, you discover freedom. Freedom from judgment. Freedom from expectation. Freedom from the need to explain yourself. You start walking with intention, not out of ego, not to prove anything, but because it feels aligned, because it feels authentic, because it finally feels like you. And with that authenticity comes power, a quiet, undeniable power, one that doesn't need applause, one that doesn't demand attention, one that simply exists and changes everything around it. People begin to notice, whether they admit it or not. They sense the difference in your energy. They feel the calm confidence in your presence. They can't ignore it, even if they want to. And yet, the path isn't without its challenges. There will still be days of doubt, moments where the old fear creeps back in, times when you question if you're ready, if you're enough, if this is really your path. And that's okay, because those moments are part of the test, a reminder of how far you've come, a challenge to step deeper into your awareness, a chance to practice the strength you've been building all along. The key is to not resist it, to not run from it, to not silence the inner voice that has been guiding you all this time. Lean into it, feel it, trust it, because the more you do, the more you begin to move in alignment with your true self. And alignment changes everything. Your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, your actions, your destiny. Everything begins to flow differently. You start attracting experiences that resonate with your vibration. You start noticing people who mirror your values. You start stepping into opportunities that feel divinely orchestrated. And all of this is because you finally allowed yourself to awaken fully. Not partially, not when it was convenient, but completely. Because awakening is not just a phase. It's a transformation, one that touches every part of your life, every decision, every interaction, every choice. And the more you embrace it, the more you realize you were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be hidden. You were never meant to dim your light. Because your light is what the world needs. And as you step further into this truth, you begin to notice another shift taking place. Your perception of time changes. Moments stretch and contract in ways you never noticed before. You begin to understand that life isn't a race. It's a series of alignments, a pattern that unfolds exactly when it's meant to. And with that awareness, patience becomes your ally. You no longer panic when things don't happen immediately. You no longer chase outcomes that aren't ready for you. You learn to trust the timing of your own journey. Because when you trust your timing, everything around you begins to sync. Doors open without effort. Paths reveal themselves without forcing. Connections appear naturally. And yet, this journey is not just about waiting. It's about action. Measured, intentional, aligned action. You start taking steps not because someone told you to, not because society expects it, but because your inner guidance insists it's right. And the power of that is immense, because it's coming from a place untouched by doubt, untouched by fear, untouched by the noise of the outside world. It's coming from you, the real you, the awakened you. And as that energy grows, you notice another truth. The world begins to reflect back your evolution. Opportunities, people, and experiences begin to resonate with your frequency. You're no longer trying to fit in. And suddenly, you belong exactly where you are. Not everyone will understand this. Some will criticize. Some will envy. Some will try to pull you back into old patterns. And that's natural, because change makes people uncomfortable. Awakening makes people uncomfortable. And you are changing. You are awakening. So resistance is inevitable. But now you have tools to navigate it. Clarity, awareness, boundaries, energy management. You've learned to protect yourself, to discern, to step away from what no longer serves you. And in doing so, your life begins to simplify. The noise fades. The distractions dissolve. The unnecessary obligations fall away, leaving only what matters. Your purpose, your path, your growth. And with that clarity comes confidence. Not arrogance, not pride, not the need to prove anything to anyone, but quiet, unwavering confidence. The kind that makes others notice without you saying a word. And as you continue on this path, the universe begins to test you in new ways. Challenges appear not to break you, but to expand you. Opportunities arrive not to reward you, but to refine you. People cross your path not to distract you, but to teach you. And every experience, every interaction, every obstacle is preparing you for the life you were always meant to live. The life that matches the depth of your awareness. The life that aligns with your energy. The life that reflects your true self. And the more you step into this, the more unstoppable you become. Because now, you're no longer living for approval. You're no longer living for comfort. You're no longer living for anyone else. You're living for the truth of who you are. And that truth is powerful. That truth is magnetic. That truth changes everything. You begin to see that being chosen isn't about fame. It isn't about recognition. It isn't about being understood by the world. It's about awakening fully and walking in alignment with your higher self. And when you do, you can't help but impact everything around you. Your presence shifts energy. Your words carry weight. Your actions inspire change. Because the awakened don't just exist. They transform. And transformation begins from within. And as this transformation deepens, you begin to notice a profound sense of discernment forming within you. You start recognizing what truly matters, what is aligned with your soul, and what is a distraction. You no longer chase empty pursuits. You no longer give energy to what doesn't serve your evolution. You move with intention in every area of your life. Your mind becomes sharper. Your intuition becomes louder. Your heart becomes clearer. And with that clarity comes a subtle power that others can feel. It's not flashy. It doesn't need attention. It simply exists. And that presence commands respect without demand. You start noticing the difference between who belongs in your journey and who doesn't. Some people naturally fade. Some people naturally rise alongside you. And some test you to reveal the strength you didn't know you had. Every interaction now has meaning. Every connection now carries energy. Every moment now holds a lesson. You start to understand the universe doesn't waste experiences. It doesn't waste people. It doesn't waste moments. Even the hardships, the betrayals, the confusion. They're shaping you, teaching you, preparing you. And the more you embrace this, the more your life begins to align with your awakening. You no longer feel lost. You no longer feel aimless. You no longer feel small. Even when the path is unclear. Even when challenges appear. Even when fear tries to creep back in. You trust yourself. Because you've learned that your inner guidance is stronger than any external circumstance. You've learned that your awakening is not dependent on others. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need permission. It simply is. And that realization is liberating. It frees you from the chains of expectation. It frees you from the weight of judgment. It frees you from the need to prove anything to anyone. You begin to live authentically, fully, completely, unapologetically. And with that authenticity comes influence. Because truth has a way of drawing attention. Because presence has a way of inspiring change. Because awakening has a way of shifting energy, whether people like it or not. And as you continue to grow, you notice a deepening sense of purpose within yourself. It's no longer about merely surviving. It's no longer about fitting in. It's no longer about seeking approval. It's about living in alignment with your soul. It's about embodying the awareness that you fought so hard to gain. It's about stepping fully into the person you were always meant to be. And that purpose, it's magnetic. It pulls the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances toward you. It repels what no longer serves you. And it aligns you with your highest path. The more you embrace this awakening, the more effortless your life becomes. Not because life stops testing you, but because you now navigate it with wisdom, strength, and awareness. You start making decisions with clarity. You start speaking with authenticity. You start living with intention. And the energy you radiate begins to ripple beyond yourself. Those around you begin to feel it, even if they don't understand it fully, even if they can't articulate it. They sense the shift, because awakened energy is undeniable. And as your energy strengthens, your impact grows. Small actions carry weight. Simple words inspire change. Quiet presence shifts dynamics. You begin to realize being chosen isn't just about your own growth. It's about the influence you carry, the lives you touch, the energy you bring into every space. And that influence comes with responsibility. The responsibility to remain aligned, to remain conscious, to remain grounded in the truth of who you are. Because when you awaken fully, you can no longer act unconsciously. And that is the true power of being chosen. It's not about recognition. It's not about control. It's not about being understood. It's about awakening. It's about alignment. It's about embodying truth. And that changes everything.